Welcome to the Kahler Podcast, Ep.19. Today we're going to be talking to Mille and his guitar tech, Paddy from Kreated. But first, viewer comments. How you doing, Gary?
I'm good this morning.
Scott C. says, I'm sure shop class probably got ditched for a number of reasons. Budget buying, maintaining machines, some kids taking it, thinking it would be dead simple, and parents got mad when their kid didn't get an easy A or B, and probably some lawsuit when a kid injured themselves by not listening, so insurance jacked up. Okay, in reference to when I said that shop class has been taken out of high schools for computer class and things like that, which, yeah, you know, the year before I went into high school, we had a kid lose 3 of his fingers in the jointer.
Okay.
And, for those that do not know, a jointer is merciless and unforgivable, and you are not getting those fingers back.
First of all, they better put shop class back in so people can learn to work with their hands, because not everybody can be a doctor and an attorney and electrician. I took shop class for 4 years in high school. And, of course, all my life I've been in shop class with our family.
Right.
But the fact is you learn a lot. As a matter of fact, in our shop class, it was so interesting that my father started going to adult shop classes after school because he learned from me. He could learn a whole lot of really good stuff in high school.
Yeah.
Now, that all happened about 100 years ago. But anyway, I did check, and in February they still do have shop class.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yep. Well, they got to, because everybody that goes to that high school, well, at least 3/4 of them are farmers, and
right.
they learn that stuff. They have to use it every day. I think that's probably the reason why, at least people that were not familiar with tools, for instance, go in and got no respect for them. I mean, accidents happen, but you got to be educated about it.
This is kind of a hot button topic for me, so I got a couple examples. We'll see how many I kick out. But one thing that I thought was really interesting, and I've mentioned before that I had to go back and do an extra half a year in high school after my graduating class left because I was a little irresponsible. But you know what? My shop teacher was also my occupational math teacher, and the people who took occupational math, we were looked down on by the people who took algebra and trigonometry.
But wait a minute, what the hell is occupational math?
Occupational math is, okay, if you have like a gear with teeth and it's turning this way, and then there's another gear next to it, what way is that gear turning?
I see. Okay.
You know, so it's a lot of very practical problem-solving things. Now, in Washington State in 1988, when I was supposed to graduate, but it wasn't until 89, although my diploma says 88 because they had it printed, suckers, there was a test, a math competency test you had to take. And if you didn't take the math competency test, well, if you didn't take it, you didn't graduate. So first there was a practice test. Then there was the test. Then if you failed that, you got another shot at it. And if you failed it a second time, you got a math deficiency sticker on your diploma.
Oh, wonderful.
Right? So
and that qualified you for dive school, I suppose.
Well, no, see, now I never got the math deficiency sticker. I aced the practice test, and I said, well, does that mean I don't have to take the test?
So then they said, well, you can just go 250 foot underwater.
Believe it or not, my occupational math did help me out a lot with diving physics and things like that. But the irony is that the kids that were, you know, like second year trigonometry and things like that, they all tanked that test.
Well,
they all had a math deficiency. And and you know what? I worked my ass off for my high school diploma. So it is actually right behind me. This thing was such a pain in my ass to get. Principal hated me. It was, I had to fight for my education.
Well, hell, I could understand that.
You can understand the principal hated me.
I taught school for 4 years. The principal hated me, and I was the teacher. God bless them all. Somebody's got to do that.
Yeah.
You know, one of the reasons we're bringing this up is because Everybody thinks a router is something that
Oh, good Lord.
everybody can use. Man, don't even touch a router unless you have academic knowledge about it.
You better be trained.
You've got to be trained to use a router. It's not that simple. You may think, oh, I got to hold it down and move it over there and watch the line. No, it kicks up on you one time, and boy, have you got a problem. So make sure you do not use a router unless you know and have had training on how to use it.
You should not even touch a router unless you're sitting there saying, like, I'm properly trained in a router. If you sit there and say, I'm smart, I'll figure it out, you're asking for a life-altering injury.
I don't know if you remember, but in Shopcast, we'd take a 2x4 and put it in a vise.
Yeah.
And each individual that was going to use this router,
right,
and the teacher would come around and say, this is how you hold it. This is how you got to hang on to it.
Yeah.
And this is the way you move it. Because if you don't move it absolutely flat on the surface, wow, that baby's going to kick all over the place. And so you got to know what you're doing.
It's really important to note, too, that it is a kick that you cannot hold on to.
You can't hold on.
You cannot hold on to it.
No, kick it right out. That's right. You got to know what you're doing. Anyway, enough of that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? One last thing. My father had a table saw. Table saw, another dangerous tool. And one day I was fixing something at my parents' house. My father had since slipped into probably stage 2.5 of dementia, and he was just no longer touching tools, which was good. So then I said something about the table saw to my mother, and she said, it's my table saw now. And I said, do you know how to use it? And she said, well, I am smart. I'll figure it out. So I went out and I took enough things off that table saw to where it would never work again, because I've seen somebody almost get their head taken off by a kickback on a table saw. Later that year, my mother told me that she had a bunch of branches fall down in the backyard, and she went down. She sent me a picture of her out with her slippers and a nightgown with a circular saw, cutting tree branches with a circular saw. Like, you're lucky that thing didn't kick back and cut your leg off. HOLOCULT says, it's a shame new schools are not pushing hands-on skills. Shop class was my only reason I went to school. Hence why I got transferred to a new school by grade 10. I barely went. Well, there was, what did you call it, Eddie? Forest class? That was my primary. And I tried to pass the hands-on skills to my boys. They hang out in my makeshift laundry room / workshop, and I always try to enforce them that anything can be built. It just takes time, practice, and passion. Gary is proof of that. Luck plays a role too. Another one for shop class, and training his boys how to use tools. It's so important.
Well, we learned all that on the farm originally. At least I did. But when you went to shop class, we called it vocational agriculture.
Right.
You learned all the thing about animals and so forth, but you also learn how to use all the tools, including welding. So that was a real good thing in the Midwest. I can appreciate what the man says here, and train his kids and how to do things, because you got to know how to use those tools. I don't care how creative you are. This isn't a paintbrush.
No.
You can hurt yourself. So make sure you know about it before you use it.
There was a time, I don't know if you remember the TV shows like American Chopper or American Restoration. Or
Sure.
Yeah, so for a while, these TV shows were really, really popular. And I always had a theory that these shows were popular because they showed people working with their hands, and most people don't know how.
There's also the TV show that's called How It's Made.
Oh, yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a phony deal, because all it does is show the tools making it. How it's made is the guy that designed the tools, for God's sakes. So they ought to be showing, how did you design those tools?
Yeah, well, it's what, 3 10-minute segments in a 30-minute show. And I mean, one 30-minute show would just be the guy sitting down, going through the drawings, for the drawings, first article.
All of that, all the milling and the machining and then the feeds and the speeds and the depths and all of that has to be figured out. All you saw was a tool shooting out a part, and that's the end result of hours and hours and hours of work.
Joe Capri 4564 says, really wish I could make it to the show. Please do a video with some highlights of the show for those of us that can't attend. Also, how do we enter for the Strat giveaway? I really want that sucker. Las Vegas Guitar Trade Show. We're definitely going to have some video footage from that. Planning on shooting a podcast there. As far as the giveaway, Strat, what we're going to do is there's going to be a thing you fill out, we need for legal reasons because we can't just go giving a guitar to somebody. We've got accountants want to know everything. So there'll be a little form you fill out, and then you're entered, and we will pick somebody. What were we saying? January?
Yeah, it's going to be something in the first of the year. Yes,
something in the first of the year. We've had it long enough. We've gotten out of it everything that's reasonable to get out of it. It's time to pass it on.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really cool. Krill5830 says, thanks, Kahler. I've been a fan and a user since the late 80s. Your designs are fascinating and practical, remarkable engineering products and services.
Hey, I like it.
Yeah, no, that's really good.
Well, we've just been working at it. It isn't just this company. I mean, everybody in the company. And we've been lucky to have some really good engineers. All I can say is we try to improve the product, but more, we try to give you as much service as we can also.
Yeah.
So thank you for what you said.
I got to tell you, this is kind of, I don't know where I'd stick it in, but we had somebody not too terribly long ago get a hold of us, and they had a killer that they loved, but it wasn't working anymore. So they took it into a guy who immediately took it off, put an imitation, a cheapy Floyd Rose on there, re-drilled for new posts and everything. The guy wrote us in and said he didn't like it, and do we have another killer maybe for sale? And he sent me pictures, and I said, the killer is tough as nails. I think your posts are shot, new posts, and you should be fine. And sure enough, it fixed it. And that's a bridge that Kahler hasn't made for how long now?
Oh,
decades.
35 years, maybe.
35 years, maybe. Yep. And you know what? That thing's still going strong because, so designs are fascinating and practical. That's
a special design because the fulcrum point and the sharpness is on the bolt.
Yeah.
And not on the plate. So there's a groove in the plate that the sharp edge of the bolt goes into. And about that same time, we also saw a bridge that was hooked up wrong. It was like set up like a Floyd Rose with the with the knife bolt not even in the groove. I mean, I don't know how the guy was complaining about the click every time.
I'm surprised it moved.
Yeah, if it did, evidently. You got to make sure if you have one of those killers that the knife is on the bolt and it goes into the groove.
Yeah.
In the killer. Yes.
And the spider.
And the spider.
And the dreaded 2500. There are people who don't realize that the spider was designed to be like an ultra stable fulcrum. So they'll go, well, but it's so stiff. Yeah, it's designed to be stable.
Well, we designed it originally for Fender, and that's what Fender wanted.
That was
that's what we had.
So the spider is like if you've got a problem with palm muting, you bend the thing out or whatever, the cam fixes that right away, but the spider, that really fixes it too. Add an auto latch, forget about it. Mercutio UK 2006 says, interesting as always. Hopefully some footage from the show will appear so we can see what we're missing. Cheers again. I know, absolutely. We're going to have footage from the show. We're going to see what all's there. I don't know what to expect at all.
That's the show in November we're talking about.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, the Las Vegas Guitar Trade Show.
It's going to be very interesting. A lot of interesting people showing up for that show.
Yeah. Yep. I'm really excited about it because There's supposed to be just all kinds of different things. And that was the last comment. So now we are going to take you to an interview that we did with Mille and Paddy, the founder of Kreator, and his guitar tech.
They were great. They're going to be great.
Yeah.
And they had a hell of a show, by the way.
Oh, that show was just fantastic. I loved it.
I mean, great playing, and but the show part of it, all the lights and the pictures and the
big demons behind them. And, and then Gary was sitting next to a guy eating satanic chicken.
And drinking a beer. But all I can say is the guy has played the Kahler forever. And I thank him for that. That was wonderful. And we're very fortunate to have him here in the studio.
Yeah, and he actually has a lot of specific reasons why he prefers the Kahler over any other system.
Well,
and
he's going to explain it. He talks about it.
He really does. Let's join that. Already in progress. All right. So I don't even want to screw this up. So I'm going to let you pronounce your name properly.
Mille Petrozza.
Yeah, I'd never get that.
It's half German, half Italian.
Wow, that's an explosive combination.
It is. There was after in the 60s, after World War II, there was a lot of people from Italy coming to Germany to find work and rebuild the country.
I can't even imagine. So anyway, we are here today with a founding member of the band Kreator. This is a big thrill for me because I've been listening to you guys since I was a teenager in the 80s. And now we're sitting here just shooting the breeze, and that's awesome.
It is.
Yeah, really cool. You're our first rock star on the podcast ever.
What?
Yeah.
Yep. You're the first one.
You're in Las Vegas. There must be some people coming around.
Well, you know what? We just got started.
Okay. Oh, you just started this podcast.
Yeah. We just.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
That invited me first.
I would just like to say I really am pleased you're here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
From the homeland of Germany. I love
all right.
I love it. That's where all my heritage is.
About to break out the bratwurst, you know.
Yeah.
And the Weiss beer, whatever they drink.
Yeah, fucking Hefeweizen.
Hefeweizen and
I don't know. Geez, I almost said Jagermeister, but that's Switzerland, though, right?
I think it is. It's
Germany.
It's German.
Is it?
German, yeah.
Yeah, that's German.
Man, that stuff is.
It is. It
like
fucks
that.
you. It messes you up.
I actually, I was in a band with a guy from Germany before, and he told me, "You guys are drinking that wrong. You're supposed to have one shot after a heavy meal. That's it."
That and Dornkart and Schinkenheger. Those were the not so popular after dinner drinks that don't do nothing to your stomach, but like irritate it probably. It's not healthy. Believe me.
Imagine that.
It's a nice selling point.
Well, that's what old people say.
Old people.
Yeah.
Gives another reason to drink.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm qualified as an old person.
There you go.
I'll say it.
You've been playing the Kahler stuff for how long now?
I'd say either 85 or 86.
That is a long time.
Yeah. I think on my first album, I had an Ibanez.
Yeah.
That had a Kahler. The Ibanez was my first proper guitar. Before that, I had a Bird, which was a Les Paul copy, and I didn't have any tremolo on it. When I got my real proper guitar, the Ibanez Destroyer, I put the Kahler on it.
Just like what Phil Collin, he did that too.
He did that too,
Yeah.
right?
It was about the same time, I think.
It was about the same time. It
Yeah.
must have been about the same time because I think what, like I told you before, what inspired me to use a Kahler was I wanted to have like a whammy bar, and then it's a friend of mine had what's the name, Kramer? Remember
Kramer,
that?
yeah.
And it had a Floyd Rose.
Yes.
And it got out of tune all the time. I was like, we were all like spending all the time at rehearsal tuning the guitar.
Right.
And once it was tuned, we played like 2 songs and it was out of tune again.
Mm.
So the Kahler was not like that.
No.
And for us as kids, we were like all like 15, 16, 17 years old at the time.
Yeah.
Who would just learned how to tune a guitar to begin with, the Floyd Rose made our lives even more complicated.
Yeah.
Once we found the Kahler, to me it was like eye-opening, because not only did the Kahler like give us like a nice whammy sound and the dive bombs and all that stuff, but it stayed in tune. And if it went out of tune, which was rare, you can tune it really quick, like
Very quick.
on the go. So that was the reason why we loved Kahler from the beginning. And yeah, it's been a while. I've played the Kahlers for many years.
That's been quite a few years. Hey, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. But that was my story and how I felt about the Kahler, because it was for me, it's like being a musician. You don't want to waste time on tuning and stuff.
No, you want to play.
You want to play. I think the Kahler really helped to create our sound, and especially when it comes to the lead parts and and all that stuff that we do with the whammy bar, it was always very solid.
Yeah.
There's no and also we when we started touring, we played very small clubs. We played very small clubs, and it was very hot. And even in the worst conditions, the Kahler would stay in tune.
Did you ever notice that you can't bend it out of tune when you rest your hand on there and palm mute like you can in fulcrums?
Yeah, you can. But that's like I said. I mean, the only issue that I had sometimes was when I was going too wild. I was touching the
fine tuners,
and but very rare. I mean, it's just a little bit. It took me like little while to get used to it, not to do this anymore. So nowadays it never happened.
Yeah, and then we also have Paddy, your guitar tech here.
Yep.
And
welcome, Paddy.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah,
the man that does it.
Well, this is something that we've wanted to do from the beginning. We wanted to have not only the artist but their tech on too, because without him, you don't look nearly as good.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
Like
That's not true.
It's not true.
No, it is in a way. I mean, I know exactly what you're saying, but he can probably speak for himself. Maybe he's really like like I said, if you have a tech that's not working out, it's a nightmare. And we've been working for how long now?
2016 was the first.
Yeah.
Wow, 2016. And, here's how dedicated he is. He's saying, I have to get back and start setting up for the show tonight. So I'm keeping an eye on the clock. Don't worry.
Well, I can say
that's why I'm here. That's what I'm getting paid for. Set up because he needs to play later.
Yeah.
That's good. All I can say, it's wonderful to have that kind of confidence. Yeah. When you get up there, you don't have to worry about it. It's ready to go.
And it
says a lot for your tech.
Yeah.
That's good.
Exactly, and then I also have to admit that I'm not a technical guy. I'm more like an artist. I go out there and play. I want to play music, and I want everything to work.
Yeah,
and he takes a lot of pressure off of me.
Oh, absolutely.
He makes sure that like everything stays in tune, everything is like proper. Like there's no humming, no voices or whatever. No distraction from the performance.
That's what we kind of do here. We're kind of a tech outfit.
Yeah.
We try to make it so.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Paddy there.
So everybody
can do it the best you can, and we support you guys on the road.
Absolutely. So, and that's another thing why I love the Kahler is it's user friendly. If I might use it's not user friendly. It sounds a little too musician friendly.
Right, musician friendly. Yeah, that's friendly. Even that goes beyond user friendly. You think it's some musicians, it's like you get upset with it and you look for a rock to hit the thing with. I gotta ask, I gotta know. So you form this metal band in the early to mid 80s. There's a lot going on in Germany over there at the time with other people. What was it like to be part of all that when it was happening? All I know about is the American scene, but you guys had like other bands over there, like Destruction, Gravedigger, things like that. Do you guys do anything together, or was it just
we were all trying at the time. Everybody was still trying to figure it out,
right?
Like what to do and how to find a rehearsal spot. And we would do things like, okay, we get you a gig here, and exchanging for exchange, I will play in your city. Next time we support you. And it's like nobody knew anything. It was all DIY at the time, you know. And there was also like getting the equipment together was a challenge because I didn't know. I mean, when I first bought my first amplifier, I didn't know how to make it sound distorted. I always had like this vision of how can I make this sound like my favorite record, Maiden and Priest or whatever.
Right.
Once you and it was so expensive. Like you said earlier, I'm not from a rich family, so it was always like somebody would recommend something, and then you would like save up until you got the money to buy certain things. And of course, we knew all these other bands, and we had a couple of bands that we went to see. There was this band Steeler. I don't know if you
Steeler with
remember.
Yngwie.
Not the Yngwie Steeler.
Not the Yngwie
German Steeler. There was a German Steeler.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then there was a band called Gravedigger. You mentioned them.
Gravedigger, yeah.
We saw them all the time because they were from our area. Destruction, of course. Sodom was getting ready, and the Scorpions.
It's so crazy because you're rattling off all these names of all these people that I listened to back when having long hair branded you as a devil worshiper, you know, and all this other stuff. So, you know, then when all of a sudden you're like, you know, somebody with their, we called it the toilet bowl haircut, you know, the new wave haircut where it looked like they and you know, they're walking by with their Thompson Twins cassette and their Walkman going like, you know, that's just so evil. It's like, you got it all wrong. Yeah. Well, who are you listening to? Gravedigger. It's not a very powerful argument, you know. It's like, yeah, well, so, you know, what's the name of this wholesome band you're listening to? Hellhammer. Kreator was right there. I listened to you guys so much during that time and still do. And I mean, you guys definitely helped forge the direction that metal has gone in and survived. When the 90s came along, I was terrified. I thought, Jesus, this is over.
We were all terrified at the time. I mean, it's not that I thought it was over. I remember in the 90s, I tried to sell one of my Jacksons at the time. Nobody wanted to buy it.
No.
everybody wanted Les Paul or Fender, you know, like the traditional. I mean, I'm so lucky. I'm so happy that the 90s are over. I'm not like, there's a certain metal bands that always go, you know, grunge killed metal. I don't think so. I think what killed it was maybe certain people in the industry that didn't want metal to be there anymore. Yeah. And nowadays with everything being more global through the internet, and through your own like social media, you can do so much more. So it's we still need some of the industry, of course, and we have nowadays people that are working in record companies are metalheads. Back then there was mostly businessmen that didn't really know about music unless it sold a lot of copies, you know. So nowadays it's a lot cooler because the scene created itself. There's like people working in the industry that actually love the music, and you don't have to rely on people that just love whatever sells. Just, you know,
that was one of the cool things. I remember seeing early ads for like Megaforce Records in Kerrang or something like that, and you could just tell that they got somebody who's like, okay, who can draw the best here? Okay, like draw me an ad, you know, and it'd be a little cartoon.
It was all DIY,
fanzines, and the whole thing.
That's where we came from. I mean, when we were doing our first demo tapes, we sent them over here. We had people like Caton from Hyrex. He would spread the word, and you know, Possessed that we're playing with today. They were one of our pen pals. We were big in the tape trading scene.
Yeah, I just found that out. It's you guys, Possessed and Testament.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's going to be, I've never seen any of you guys, and I've always wanted to. I'm so excited to see
tonight's tonight, right?
Oh, God, yeah, tonight's tonight. Are you kidding? You can't keep me away.
Yep.
Yeah, good.
Oh, yeah. You know, you see them at a Slayer show back when they back when they were going on.
I was more interested in creating and making stuff, although I know a lot about music academically. I can just tell you that I was originally a trumpet player.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So about tuning a guitar and that, I only knew that from when we would have guest guitar players come to university, and I got to be student director. And then I find out, my goodness, they don't even have fine tuning on there in the late 70s. I couldn't figure that out. Where every other instrument of the orchestra does have fine tuning. Everything from woodwind to brass to drums. It was pretty amazing. Or even the violin, for that matter. So I was kind of in a different direction than a man Eddie here, because he was listening to all the music. I really wasn't listening that much at that time. My interest was, how can I build something? So I was one of those old guys that said, there's something wrong here. We got to have a little bit of fine tuning. That's how we all got started. But without you guys playing the stuff, I mean, we wouldn't be here today. So thank you for that.
Thank you for supporting the. I mean, it's give and take. You know, it's it's a win-win situation here.
It really is important, and the text is so important. I think we probably talk more of the text than we do the pros, don't we?
I'd have to agree. And you know what? I can tell Paddy over here is getting real fidgety, worrying about
he's
the load in and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know.
So you got anything to add, or
there's nothing to add except that there's, in my opinion, like the Kahler tremolos are the best ones I worked with. I mean, I had do this now for 20 years roughly, and I started working with Kahler with Kreator. Before I had only those Floyd Rose, and they killed me, really. Because there's what Mille said, they're just so, because they're free floating, they're so much more difficult to handle. Yes. And I love the Kahler. It's just, for his playing, it's perfect. It's just so simple. It's so high tech, but it's so simple and so perfect.
Well, thank you. I might say that our crew, and there's a whole lot of people that contributed to that, and a person that really did contribute to that was Dave Storey. I don't know if you've ever heard of Dave Storey, Storey. Anyway, I had everything figured out except the cam. I was having trouble with that. You mentioned Jackson. Well, Grover Jackson actually told me about this guy in New Zealand that had this cam. Well, then I find out he's a motor engineer, and he figured out the cam works. And so it takes a group of people. It isn't any one individual, and we really, really got to give them credit. Nice. Like, Dave Storey, Dave Petrozza, and now I got him to contend with.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's how it is.
So it's teamwork. It's teamwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll never. Anytime you give Gary a compliment, he's always gonna add everybody that's involved.
That's cool.
No, absolutely. It's definitely the way to be. Although it is still his name on the bridge, so you know.
Yeah, it's my name on the liability.
Well, he's responsible to make sure everybody gets paid. So he's got to have some perks.
That's about it. That's right.
All right. Well, this seems like a pretty good place to stop, get you guys back to the venue, and let Paddy set up, because I do not want. I don't want to sit there and look and go like, this is my fault. I kept you guys here too long, and now the show is suffering.
No,
we can't have that.
No. Fine, but
okay. Well, cool. So, hey, thank you, Mille, so much,
Thank you, guys.
and Paddy for stopping in. And you know what, guys? We'll see you next week.
We got it.